go and knock on their office at City Hall. City Hall is, I want people to understand that City Hall is, we want it to be for the people, right? We want the people to be in City Hall and to feel that that is our place. It's not just a place where politicians do their politicking, right? All right, next slide. So this is a slide that I want people to take a photo of, if you have a phone, because this has some of the information for how to call and write to the members of the Budget and Finance Committee, which our office is not, our council member is not on the Budget and Finance Committee, but here's the information for those council members that are. There's the mayor, and there's also the general council budget. So the council budget, has anyone ever done public comment online before? Raise your hand. Okay, great. So you can, if you just Google LA City public comment, you can leave public comment online there, and that lives in the record of the budget or whatever it is that we're trying to pass, right? And the council file for this is on year 2. It's always the year. So in this case, it's going to be 25, and then 0600. So you have to have a council file, and you do that. You can put in, whatever you might need to do. At this point, we're a little bit later in the process, so there aren't public comment sessions for the Budget and Finance Committee, but there are public comment sessions still for City Council. So you can come to City Council Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday. And usually council starts at 10 a.m. So you can come, and there's always general public comment. If you show up, I'm telling you, if you show up with a group of 10 people and say, we need more money for our street lights, and we need to be prioritizing that, it's going to make an impact, right? So even though there aren't, the Budget and Finance Committee, their public comment is coming on, there's still that, and on the 21st and 22nd of May, which I think is maybe in the next slide. Yes, that's when the budget goes to full council, and that's when we have some opportunities there for public comments as well. So those are the ones that we are looking forward to. We also have up here the Make Your Own Budget tool, which is from the controllers, and the controller's office has a lot of information there about the budget. And then, just where to provide public comment and the council list. So, all right, I know that was like a little crash course on the budget. I know we went through a lot of information, but now we're going to get some time to hear from the council member and about what's going on with the budget this year, and then we'll get into kind of the Q&A part and talking more about that.
Thank you so much, David. Please give him a round of applause.
That guy right there trespassed me before I even got in.
Switches up. All right, I need another one more. Okay, great. So we've heard of there being a deficit. So why do we have a deficit? We have to talk about that. So the first reason why we have a deficit is because the staff costs have increased. Now, almost every single worker in the city of Los Angeles is represented by a union, and that generally is a good thing. Generally a good thing. But there's about 8 different unions, and guess which one is the most powerful of all of them? Police union, yes. Second most powerful? Fire. Right. Now, what happened this time around in this cycle, just by a show of hands, who belongs to union or knows someone who belongs to union? Okay, so in the case of the city, what ends up happening is the first union to negotiate a contract, whatever they get, the other unions are going to be like, we want the same amount of money. And so what happened in the last cycle of the contracts is that LAPPL was the first union to go up. And they bargained for themselves I believe it was a 23% increase in their wages. But see, this is where, and this is why I voted no, and so did Councilmember Hernandez and Councilmember Rahman. 2 of the largest increases to the LAPPL was to try to solve 2 things. One, police people are not becoming police officers at the rate that they used to, and so their attrition rates was going down. And so like we need to increase the hiring. And so in order to they did that to solve that issue is they increased the starting wage of a police officer. And then the other problem that they were trying to solve is that usually between year 3, 4, and 5, a lot of police officers at LAPD leave to go work at other stations or other departments across the country or the county. And to solve that problem, they added a retention bonus. So give them more money so they can stay longer. Now, it's been about a year and a half. Has that worked? What do people think? Has it worked? No, it actually has not worked. The issue remains the same. People are not hiring. We're still losing police officers. And people are still, for all intents and purposes, are still living in year 3 and between year 3 and 5. But what happened is, after that contract was negotiated, every other union, and it's fair for them to have this position, is hey, they got that wage increase, I want the same wage increase. And so every other union got the same wage increases or very similar wage increases. And that increased our cost by $750 million per year. That was the first one. The second one is liabilities. Liabilities basically means someone sues the city, we pay them out for tripping on a sidewalk, light bulb fell on them, which is actually a true case. It could be a bunch of different things. Usually the city would get sued about at the tune of about $100 million a year, which is still a lot of money. Last year was more than triple. It was $320 million, and so it was like another $200 plus million to the budget. And then finally, revenues have decreased because of all the uncertainty happening right now with the federal administration. And so you increase the cost, lower the revenues, you find yourself in almost a $1 billion hole. Next slide, please. And as David mentioned, where's most of the money go to? Most of it goes to LAPD when we talk about money that we actually have discretionary over. Okay, next slide. Here are some top hits that we can look at that are absolutely issues, I should be issues to many people, including much of us in our office, is that first of all, there are proposed layoff of 1,600 layoffs. All across city departments, some more urgent depending on what you want to see in your budget than others, but overall, every single department was, for the most part, affected by the layoffs. Point number 2 I want to highlight, by the way, the things we're pointing out to here are the ones that we have highlighted as important issues to look at, to try to fight back, try to get them back, or make some sort of changes. And so point 2 is represent LA. Who knows what represent LA is? I know some folks know. Okay. So represent LA. So this is after the first Trump administration, the city of Los Angeles and the county said, well, the way we can support immigrants is by creating a fund where we can provide legal services for folks facing deportation or other sort of immigration issues. And the city fought very hard to implement that policy. We amended it, but that's for a different story. But we usually put about $1 million to $2 million a year to support people facing deportation. I think most people can agree in the political climate that we are in right now, that is a pretty important issue for the people of the city of Los Angeles. And so it's not a lot of money, it's $1 million, but we do want to put that back into the budget. Number 3 is proposed cuts to people experiencing intimate partner violence, also known as domestic violence. This is one that we recently won, and I want to explain this one by going back a few slides. Can you go back to the one where it shows all the process, like the 5? Okay, there. Okay, so DV, we got increases to domestic violence here last year. A few of us fought, we pushed, we got $8 million in the budget. But since it was new money, right, something that wasn't in the budget before, there's a whole process for, well, how does that money actually turn into services in the community? And so the first thing, that fell to the Community Investments and Family Department, also known as CIFD. It's an anti-poverty department. So they were tasked with that. money and said, go find the organizations that can put that money to use. So they did an RFP, which we have to do, right? It's a request for proposal. We have to find who is the best nonprofit to do this work. We finally found the nonprofit. We started figuring out the contract. When we finally got the RFP issued and they got the money, we were all ready. We were somewhere in October and November. And so it took like 5 months just to get that money out. And guess what happened? So we put $8 million for a year of services, and now we're about a middle of the way in. Guess what the city wanted to do to that money? They wanted to cut it. They wanted to cut it. We hadn't even put the money out, but because we were already looking at the forecast that our revenues were going down, that our liabilities were going up, the CAO, which is one of those funky players, right? I say funky because we don't really know what they do, or I know what they do, but a lot of the public doesn't know what they do. They recommended cutting that funding. And so the budget and finance committee said, no, we asked for that money, we're not gonna cut it. And so finally they were able to get their process handled. Those services are now being executed in the streets of Los Angeles. But as we're now getting into budget season, well, when is budget season again? All year. It's all year, that's right. So just to give you an example of why something that we won last year in May, June, continued to be an issue throughout the year, right? And so we were able to fight it back, but now as we get back to April on 4/20, $2 million were removed, and now we're pushing to get that money back in for DV support. Okay, let's go back to our priorities. And this is a good one to talk about. It's like a real thing, right? When we talk about the budget, we're not talking about theory. There are effects that happen in people's lives. The other thing that was cut was wage theft enforcement. The city of Los Angeles has this little scrappy department that is tasked to investigate wage theft. We know wage theft is a serious issue. People lose to the tune of $1.2 billion a year in the region in wage theft. That's because people are not getting paid for overtime, meal breaks, they work off the clock, you name it. That department was severely cut, and that's one of the things we're pushing back to get that department back. Just to give you an example of how pervasive wage theft is, right now we're leading a legislation to empower fast food workers, and through a study we found that a fast food worker who make an average of $18,000 a year, not a lot of money, they lose on average $1,800 in wage theft. 10% of their money, they're already making very little, and so it's an extremely pervasive issue. Wage theft. Another thing to highlight, point number 5, even though most of the liabilities are LAPD, even though they can't hire the personnel, even though they take up, okay, who knows how much overtime LAPD gets a year? Just a guess, throw it out there. $200 million a year in OT. Even though this is a department that many of us have critiques of, that department was not affected. And then finally, another issue I want to highlight, massive cuts to LADOT. LADOT, I think, doesn't get the attention it deserves because it's not, it doesn't make the headlines. It doesn't make the news headlines that I believe it should. And one sort of figure that I want to highlight is that last year in the city of Los Angeles, more people died of traffic violence, traffic cars, you name it, than people being killed, like homicides. But we don't talk about that issue being that urgent, right? We talk about public safety through an LAPD lens, but we don't talk about public safety through a traffic violence lens. And it just so happens that the communities most affected by traffic violence happen to be in areas where traditional redlining and occurred, and so it happens to be in most communities of colors. And so we want to highlight LADOT because we believe making sure people don't die by walking or biking in the street is just as important as someone who gets robbed or killed. So, and that's the other one. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're now sort of in this orange box. The mayor released her budget. we're doing a whole set of committee hearings. Today, they went through a bunch of different memos, which they're really trying to really focus in on where those changes are going to happen. So that happened today, and a few more hearings are going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Okay, next slide. And finally, I want to talk about some of the priorities that our office has identified because, you know, you followed the work that we did, and I say we because this isn't about one individual, it's about a group of people coming together to send someone with their values. You would know that everything here is something that I think most of us can agree with. And so poverty alleviation, homelessness prevention, and domestic violence support are some of the things we're really focusing on this budget. Some of the things that we pushed for in a previous process were in the budget, and that's a victory. And so let's go back to the last slide. So some of the things we push happen around November, December, no, I would say December, January. As departments are submitting their budgets, the CAO, which oversees that process, and the mayor's office, they usually come to council members and they're sort of taking like a temperature check. It's like, hey, where are you? Where are you on these issues? Where are you on these issues? And so eventually they use some of that opinion to try to form the budget. And then again, we give our opinion again around the time that we are right now. And so go back to the next one. So all of these here, we pushed in December, January, and we're pushing now. Those are the two most important points for a council office. The other one is, I mentioned wage theft enforcement, which was cut. Sorry, let me go back a little bit. Poverty alleviation, one of the departments that I want to, one of the programs I want to talk about is called the Family Source Centers. Family Source Centers, we have 19 in the city of Los Angeles. They have a budget of $1.5 million, and what they do is rental assistance, food programs. They help people do their income taxes for free. They help them get the earned income tax credit, which oftentimes can be about $10,000. Even if you're undocumented, you pay taxes, you get that money back. And so it's all an anti-poverty department. The good thing is that department was not, that program was not cut. And it wasn't cut because we made this a priority in December, January. So that's something we're not gonna have to fight right now. DV, as I mentioned, we pushed for it in January, December, was cut, and we're gonna push for it now. Wage theft enforcement, unfortunately, was cut, but we're pushing for it now. Unarmed crisis response. Who's heard of the unarmed model of crisis response? Okay, just by show of hands. Okay, great. This is a magnificent program that unfortunately is not as funded. However, if we look at what we have in the city of LA, we're making some good progress, and I believe the people working on this issue are really good and being very thoughtful. Because in the city of LA, we have 21 police divisions. That's Hollywood, Northeast, Rampart, Olympic, Wilshire. Those are the 5 we have in our district. If you live in South Central, it's the Newton Division, or Southeast, there's a bunch of them. There's 21 total. Of those 21 divisions, there is a form, and I say a form because it's not perfect, there is a form in 18 of 21. In 18 of 21, there is a form of an unarmed model of crisis response. In other words, if you call 911 in those divisions, in those 18 divisions, depending on the issue, the person that shows up will not be an LAPD. It'll be either someone from Circle or from one of the many other UMCRs. And so what we want to see in this year's budget is expanding those programs, making sure that it's citywide, that they're not taking the limited calls that they take right now, that we can expand those calls. And so right now, this is the fight we're in the middle of right now, because we got some money, but the expansion is not clear if it's going to happen, which we want an expansion. And then finally, we want to protect critical services. As most folks who live in the city, you experience the city when you walk down the street, whether there's lights where you walk, are the trees trimmed, is it ADA accessible? When you ride your bike, if you ride your bike, do you fear that you're gonna get killed by riding your bike? There's so many things. That's how most of us experience the city of LA. The rent that we pay. And so there's a lot of departments that contribute to everyone's quality of life. And so we're really focusing on those issues, making sure that either they stay the same or we can improve them during this budget. Okay, next slide. And as Councilmember Hernandez said, in her wonderful rally when Bernie came into town, AOC, if you haven't seen that speech, I really encourage you to see it. It was a wonderful speech. I'm a little salty that I didn't get to speak, but it's okay. She did a great job. But that's what she says all the time. Right? Budgets are a statement of our values. We share it, and so we want people to share their vision for the city. And I believe that is my part, and now David is going to lead us in the Q&A, which I will be answering.
So, just before we get into the question and answer part, I know I'm going to continue to try to push you guys to talk to each other. So before we get into that, why don't we just turn to the person that's next to you and talk about what are some of the questions that you might have. So maybe it'll help us to kind of like, if we have a similar question or something like that, what are some things that maybe you didn't understand, parts of the budget that you want clarified, parts of it that you're not happy about maybe, something like that. So let's take a couple minutes and just like think about like what is a good question is something that you're ready? You're ready? Give it 1 minute. Give it 1 minute. All right, we'll be right back.
This is the guy. This is the guy who told me I couldn't be in here. You know where I'm at right now? I'm sitting down in here. Now let's see if he allows me to ask questions. Because I've got questions to ask.
Over the homelessness stuff, like on multiple occasions, and that's the biggest issue that we're having right now. What are you here for? Like taxpayers.
What's up, guys?
To this budget that we're talking about.
This guy played himself. He's gonna tell me where I can come in. I'm a CD13 resident, and he's my council member. Everybody else is allowed in, but I'm not allowed in. Now imagine in my council district, non-elected people. How many people have a ton of influence? Like last night, I was up on Hollywood Boulevard having a long talk with a guy who owns 3 tattoo shops on the boulevard. And this guy was saying, no, you run, I'll vote for you. I understand my community, he doesn't. But he wants to deny me entry.
Can you raise your hand?
Get the fuck out of here.
You'll hold it while y'all ask your questions. And
Let's see how that works out.
Question started down here. So let's hear it.
You see my hands up.
2 questions. One, is the mayor's budget, is the city looking at childcare, subsidized childcare as important to ending poverty? And second, can we just take a permanent red line to all the police liability lawsuits we face from their budget? I really feel like if there's some accountability in the dollar and bottom line, they'll get their shit together. Thank you so much. Those are 2 great questions. Regarding childcare, there is a very small childcare program that runs out of Reckon Parks. A lot of folks actually don't know that it exists. It exists in the city of LA. However,
That's what I'm here to say too. They need to talk to people.
Okay. The program is very small. I actually heard that there was maybe some cuts happening to it right now. There are, right? Yeah, someone flagged it, and this is why we do these town halls also, because someone mentioned it to me on the floor, and then that's in the midst of so many things. We need to rise it up to a higher priority. But I agree, and I think that's also something the county should be looking into, even though they're facing their own issues. That is just an important issue. The state should be looking at it. When you do childcare for folks at a young age, studies have shown that it just completely puts their life on a different trajectory. And so I'm supportive of it. But I gotta say, it's not an issue that is front and center on a lot of things. And we had a lot of people coming out protesting that first day, but I don't think a single person was talking about childcare. We're talking about other issues. And regarding police liability, Well, we gotta change the way it works because as it stands right now, even if the money we put aside for police liability goes past what we've allocated, it's gonna come out of somewhere. So the city's gonna pay for it regardless. I think some things that people have looked into, this would require a policy change, is requiring police officers to get insurance, just like a doctor gets medical insurance. Right? If a doctor faces a medical malpractice, their personal insurance covers it. That's something people have kicked around, but I don't think anybody's really got the sink in their teeth of how do we actually do that. But that would be like a creative way that would avoid the city paying for the malfeasance of some of these officers. Say that again?
Take it out of their budget.
I personally don't think that is the solution, because if so one of the comments, right, and we'll try to have questions, so folks have questions about this, but since it's relevant, it's even if it goes out of their budget, what's gonna end up happening is the LAPD is gonna come back to the Budget and Finance Committee and say, we don't have any money, we burned through it. And they're gonna say, why did you burn through it? And they're like, it's because our liabilities. And the majority of Budget and Finance is going to say, okay, great, let's go find that money somewhere else and give it to you. The political will to stop that, or to not have that suggestion actually happen, is simply not there today. Now, there's, if you were to bring that issue to the full city council, I think you would have 4 people supporting it, but it's not right now, it's not the 8. And so I want to present solutions to the problem that I think can pass full council. And so requiring them to get their own insurance, I think is one that we can get to 8 votes on.
Hello. Hey, can you just like say who you are, what neighborhood you're coming from, maybe?
Yeah, my name's Daniel. I'm with the Filipino Workers Center that's here in Hi-Fi. So I have 2 questions. One of them is just like me as someone who's like in the district a lot. And the other one is like for the organization, the work we do. So the first one is like, how do we go about in what the budget process, like fixing the roads, just because Alvarado is like destroying my car. There's like a huge pothole right before the 101. And I have to like split lanes, so that's just like one thing. I think the other thing, just like in like working with immigrant workers, and you already talked about like the office of wage standards that we're really worried about. But another topic that's coming up in our spaces is just like worries about the day labor centers and how those are like being cut, and that's where a lot of like we're hearing about Home Depot collaborating with ICE and hurting day laborers, and for us and our workers, those aren't the workers we work with, but it's also like creating a lot of fear amongst our workers, seeing that on TV and hearing that in the news, and just anything that creates more ICE activity is like just creating a lot of fear in our communities. So I also want to ask you to speak to those things.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for the work that you do at PwC. It's a really incredible organization. I've worked with them for like 12 years, even before I became a council member. The roads. I think the roads comes to sort of the points that we made about quality of life issues. But what we don't have in the city of LA is a capital improvement plan, right? And so we don't allocate a certain amount of money every single year to fixing the roads, the sidewalks, and things like that. And so that's something that we should be doing there. Wage theft, as you mentioned, we're pushing them. The day laborers at Home Depot and other places, we're also pushing that issue. And regarding Home Depot, we actually had a conversation with the Home Depot in our district. We asked corporate to meet with us about what they're going to do in the district to make sure that doesn't happen. And if you know anything about Home Depot and who owns Home Depot, as you can imagine, the answer was not a good one. That was not a surprise to us, and so we know that the greatest tool that we have is really having people know their rights, right? If they know their rights, regardless of what happens, we have a fighting chance. And so the issue of immigration and everything you just mentioned is one that I care about deeply. but unfortunately we're facing some challenges. But that's why I started this by saying, the work that you do is going to be invaluable in this moment right now. So, as someone who was an organizer, very rarely did I depend on government to do the right thing. I think we have an opportunity to do some improvements, but the sort of life-changing, groundbreaking policies, we got to still fight very, very, very hard to achieve them. But the ideas will come from the grassroots, and it will come from the work that you're doing.
Lady here had a question.
You want to go ahead?
No, I was.
Oh, it's live stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you comfortable?
I do not want to be filmed.
Okay.
You won't be. He won't be.
Mr. Good, do you mind just not recording?
I don't record. I'm not recording her. I'm recording you.
Okay.
Okay, just want to confirm that. Yeah, you can record me. That's fine.
I don't need. I'm here on behalf of my neighborhood with my friend, the neighbor, and the street lights are insane right now. And I'm sure every single person in this room is experiencing this. And this is basic. This is basic services. And all of the stuff is being cut for copper or whatnot, but there needs to be a new way of fixing these things. Because if you're at 320 million or whatever that was in lawsuits, you're gonna have so many more. Because people are gonna be hurt, robbed, raped. I was almost hit by a car that didn't see me. We don't have sidewalks in a lot of the neighborhoods. And this is crazy. It's pitch black. And I'm sure many people in here have gone on 311 and filled out the thing. I have things that are over 250 days old requests. And it's just, all these things that you're talking about are so great, and I'm supportive of it, but the fact that we don't have streetlights at night is not acceptable.
What's your name, man?
Kirsten,
Kirsten, I completely agree with you.
what do we do?
I'll tell you what we do. So the reason, and part of the reason we're doing these larger budget discussions, right, is because we first have to understand, well, where is our money going, and why is it going there, and like, is the right decision to do what we're doing, and in a lot of places the answer is an emphatic no. No, and we can't ignore the elephant in the room, and that's what we kept talking about, how much the LA police budget takes up, right? Because I'll give you an example, and the budget should be a reflection of our values. That's should be, but right now is a reflection of politics, and who has power, and who influences those decision makers, those 15 people. So that's just the reality. Which is why a lot of us who just got elected don't take certain money, because when they call you, trust me, when my donors call me, I usually pick up. But it's not, but I'm taking money from the people, right? That's the reality. I'm taking money from people. No corporations, no developers, no police money, none of that. But that's not the case with the majority of the council. And the reason I wanted to focus on LAPD is because, in my opinion, it is one of the most poorly run departments in the city of LA. And to give you an example, when you have an issue in your house, whatever it may be, I'm talking about public safety, the city only gives you two options. So like, you want LAFD, you want LAPD. But the issue sometimes doesn't match. It doesn't match what you're calling. The reality is that over the last few decades, most of the calls that are now coming in is homelessness, is people experiencing mental health issues, right? Things like that. And so we have a system of public safety that is not matching the need of the city. And we also give police officers the responsibility for everything. And so in some of the calls, if you look at the calls that
But how is this about streetlights?
Hold on.
She's asking about
I know.
streetlights.
I think Kristen's following what I'm saying. A bit, okay.
I do feel like if we had more streetlights, maybe we'd have less crime.
True.
Yes.
But we need the money, right?
It's not about LAX.
Okay. We're gonna get there.
We're trying to help the police here.
We're gonna get there. So we have a system, an unarmed model of crisis response right now that needs to be expanded so that those calls that are currently going to LAPD.
He's not
be
answering the
diverted
question
to
about
a much
streetlights.
cheaper system. It costs every time you call 911, you get $85 for a police officer, $35 to call an unmodeled crisis response. Now multiply those savings times millions of times, that's where we're gonna find the money to fix all the things that we desperately want. The broken sidewalks, the streetlights, things like that. Unless we bring in more, unless we start taxing more people, then we're just gonna have to chop up the pie that we have right now. And one place that I think we can find it is by expanding UMCR and making sure that public safety dollars can be used in other places that are public safety.
So, to comment, if I can, that means we have to wait for that to happen to eventually.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we can't ignore the elephant in the room that most of the money is going to a system of public safety. However, the decisions that we're making today, we do have an ability to make some changes. But the reality is, and we have to be truthful here, we can make some changes in this budget process, but it's not gonna get us to the place that I, nor you, or many people wanna be. It used to be the case that when a light went out in the city of LA, we would fix it within a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. Now the average is a year. And so to get it from a year to a week is going to take a lot of money. And that money was not gonna be able to be made that change here into this budget process. We have to look at systemically, why is this happening?
I'm GM Park from Public Bank LA. I'm a volunteer organizer, and we're an organization that has been advocating for budgetary changes all year round. Specifically, we've been asking for the funding of a feasibility study for a public bank, a government bank. So currently, we are spending over $1 billion in interest and fees, which go to big banks. And we can harness that money, we can save that money. And the deficit is less than $1 billion. We can save more than what the deficit is right now every year, and make even more money by having other cities, municipalities bank with the Public Bank LA. And so I want to thank you for your past support, for voting for having this study and for funding the study. So as you know, the former president of the city council yanked that funding, and we're now in a bad deficit. But what I want to emphasize is that we should not rob Peter to pay Paul. We should invest in ourselves. And when you say a budget is, is a statement of our priorities should be to invest in ourselves for the long-term future of Angelinos, so that we can pay for things like street lights and housing and all these things with the over 1.3 billion that we would save. So my question to you is, how will you support the funding of the viability study for a public bank in Los Angeles?
Yeah, thank you so much, Deanne. If you haven't heard of the public bank, what it does and the movement behind that, I'm completely supportive. Once I was educated on that, I think it was a great idea. I think that there's a few of us pushing for that money. It's not a lot of money. It's $480,000 to do the feasibility study. And right now, plan A is to try to get it into this budget, but plan B, a few of us are already talking about, can we get some money from our philanthropic partners that can see the benefit of this? And so if we don't get it in this budget cycle, I think there's plan B, and then maybe even a plan C. Because I do think a lot of that, the benefits of the public bank can help for a lot of the infrastructure that we need. And just to add to the question Kristen had earlier, because I forgot to mention, because the issue of street lighting is such a big one, we've put in, at this point, $400,000 from our discretionary funds to pay for overtime to fix those street lights. And I believe we're gonna do another round of that. The only challenge is we're having to prioritize where to go. So if you have a street that you think we should be prioritizing, please talk to one of our field deputies and we'll get that address. And then next round of funding, we can try to prioritize it.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Thank you. I appreciate her. She pointed out that he's ignoring my hand.
This has to do with street lighting, and you were talking about a um, capital investment plan. Now, you know, a lot of the problem is the theft of the copper wires in the street lighting, and a potential solution, obviously, is to use solar power for these street lights. Is there an intent to change, and how much would that cost citywide? The second question, since I don't mind, is how many divisions are there in CD13 that do use the unarmed crisis response?
That's a good question. Yes, we are looking into solar power technology because if okay. 25 to 40% of the streetlights that are out in the city of LA are due to copper wire theft. 25 to 40%. There's no exact data on it, but it's 25 to 40%. The rest of them are out because of just general maintenance. And so if we were to just fund the program without the copper wire theft issue, we could fix about 60% of our streetlights. I just want to put that out there because copper wire theft is a serious issue, don't get me wrong, but it's just regular maintenance that we're not doing. That's the majority of it. And we are looking into the solar power technology. In fact, we just installed a few of them in
The lady behind me was like talking about me, said he's had his
very
hand up
happy
for
to
a
support,
while.
like this, please put them in. However, the
They
technology
initially
is
said I
still
was the
quite
third
expensive.
with the questions, but they went past
So I
me.
think as the technology evolves, it could be much more affordable. But another thing we're trying to solve the issue is we need to assess the fees for street lighting. We haven't increased the fee for street lighting in the last 30 years. And so reassessing
I've been at
that
events
and
where this guy
we'll get more
literally
money in, but
prevented me
again,
from asking
it
questions.
won't get us back to our streetlights getting fixed in a week. We still have to solve that, but hope that answers your question.
One about CD13.
Oh yes, unarmed model crisis response. We actually have it in all. Oh my God. Okay.
Of course you
Most
would
of the
know.
district is in Hollywood, which we have Circle. A lot of Northeast is in the district. We also have Circle there. Rampart, we also have Circle. And I can't remember if it's Wilshire or Olympic because it's Wilshire. Wilshire, which is just a little sliver of the district, has the unarmed model of crisis response. And I believe Wilshire also has UMCR now. But it's just some very small pieces. It's not a lot of the district. So all of our divisions are covered, all 5 of them. Yeah. Oh, by the way, when you call 911, this is something I would just say to people. If you call 911 and it's like a homeless person or it's a non-violent issue, please insist on call. Like when I call, like when you call, insist. This is an unarmed call. Can you please send an unarmed response if that's what you want?
So you call 911?
No, you should call the non-emergency.
Hold
line.
on. Let me clarify.
Especially if you're calling for Circle. We know, we have plenty of experience with that.
Okay, hold on. Let me just clarify. It goes to the same place.
Yep.
It's not 2 different people.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, but you shouldn't be taking the 911 number
if
from it.
there are times. I
Right.
think it depends on the person.
She's
If
right.
you are feeling unsafe
Oh,
and you feel like you need it is something to call, you should do it. If you do not feel like it requires that, then yes, by all means, call it's going to go to the same place, but it does help a little bit in saving time. It just does help a little bit. Okay.
I know.
All right, do you want to go next, sir?
yeah. So first off, you're right. A big part of our problem with the budget is the fact that that labor contract that was signed that you voted against. I give you a lot of credit for voting against it. I give Nithya credit for voting against it. And I give Eunice's credit for voting against it. That really put us in the hole. It's not the only thing that put us in the hole. But the reason why the police got that labor contract was because of the influence of the LAPPL. So I have 2 questions for you. First one is the LAPPL lobbyists cannot give donations directly to candidates or gifts, but you want to change the MLO so that the police union lobbyists would be able to give gifts directly to you and other members. So are you still for that? And my second question relates to homelessness. It's not addressed enough. We have that Inside Safe program that's involved with a lot of scandals right now. In my neighborhood in Hollywood, on Las Palmas, just south of Yucca, there's that apartment building. It's a rent-controlled apartment building, but it was in Pretty Woman movie, very famous building. But it's been illegally converted to a hotel. And instead of renting for $1,200, $1,300 a month, we are renting it back to the city to house somebody for $4,000 a month. So listen, I have to ask this. Kenneth Mejia wants to do an audit of Inside Safe. Karen Bass is standing in the way. Are you for Karen Bass allowing an audit of that Inside Safe program?
Thank you so much. Regarding your first question, it's not related to the budget, but I'm happy to answer it. I made my statements of why I voted for the MLO the way I did. I don't believe that corporations are the same as unions. Those two are very different entities. I understand.
Police union?
I understand that LAPPO is different. But policy oftentimes do not allow for nuances like this. They're registered as a union with the federal government, and so is folks that represent janitors. But that nuance was not parsed out. But I stand by my decision to treat those two entities very differently. Regarding the audit of Inside Safe, an audit is actually happening right now. It's being done by a third party, and the results are coming in, and we're looking at.
It's not what I asked.
You're asking about whether we should audit Inside Safe.
Whether Kenneth Mejia, the city controller, who went to court in front of Judge Carter, asking for this audit, and she's standing in the way. At any time, she can say, I agree to it.
I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, please. Thank you. Thank you.
I am not against programs of the city being held accountable and reviewing them. Whoever does the audit is fine with me. The audit is happening with Inside Safe right now. We're getting the results, and I will be happy to look at those results when they come in and when they come in.
Come on.
However, I will be very clear that I am a supporter of Inside Safe. I do think it's a program that has been helpful. We've been able to house a ton of people with 99% acceptance rate when we offer those Inside Safe beds, because it's better than taking a shelter bed in Skid Row. There's issues with the program. I'm not saying it's perfect.
$367 million to house 905 people. That's it.
People came here to get informed about the budget. If you interrupt me one more time, I'm just going to move on.
Go on.
Okay.
Then move on. You already did.
So, but I am
He doesn't
supportive
answer
of the
anything.
program, although we do have to make some improvements to it.
$367 million to permanently house 905 people. What a scam.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from High Five. We live right here in this neighborhood on Mountain View. I'd like to know why the homelessness was glossed over so much in the budget talk, when it's one of the biggest issues, and why most people are coming to these events and coming to talk to you and getting support. I know your district's big, but we have a major crisis going on right now. We're getting threatened daily. We've called Circle. They've come out, they've been very supportive, but you can't force somebody to go with Circle. So Circle is not helping with these encampments and these people that are threatening not only us as community members. I'm a mother of a 2-year-old son who I cannot even walk past this encampment with my son without them coming out and staring me down and intimidating us. And they fight each other, they're doing drugs. It's awful. And I know that's what so many people are here to be upset about. And I just need to know why you talked about domestic violence for 5 minutes, but didn't even mention, you didn't even say it. It was on your side and you didn't even say homelessness.
Okay. Let me try to answer, or maybe respond to that. Homelessness is the #1 issue of the city, without a doubt.
But it should have been taken way more into consideration for this conversation today.
Well, we did mention it, but I'm happy to dive in
You
right
didn't
now.
mention it at all. It was
Okay.
on a screen
So
and you didn't actually say it out loud.
Okay, so what we're not going to have is back and forth.
I'm not trying to have a back and forth. I'm
so
just
let's move on to
stating
the next
facts.
question.
I'm sorry, I'm stating facts.
You got the two, Mr. Good got 2 warnings, you got 2 warnings. We'll move on to the next question. I'm happy to talk to you after this meeting's over, but I don't want to have a back and forth.
I think back here in the tan.
Unbelievable.
Hi, I'm Gina.
Get him, Gina.
So I have a lot of data. I don't think I need to. Do I need the mic?
Yeah, for the translator.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thanks. I have a lot of data in terms of what's going on in Hollywood. What are you going to do about the grid? okay?
Right.
The
Thank you.
2024 data, 833 makeshift shelters for unhoused people, which equals about 1,500 unhoused people in Hollywood. The number is a gross undercount, but you have organizations like Hollywood Forward on their website, has 47 nonprofits, 13 government bodies,
Right.
and 9, what do they even call it? 9 major coordinated entry systems. Okay, so you're talking about almost 70 different organizations whose goal is to eliminate house homelessness in
To make
Hollywood.
money.
And they're getting untold dollars
Right.
to do this.
Right.
It's a grift.
Right.
The city is managing the unhoused
Thank you.
crisis. It is never
Thank you.
intended to solve it. That has to be said and it has to be dealt with.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll respond to that. Even though there wasn't a question, I'll respond to that.
What are you gonna do?
All right, Gina. So, look, I'm not gonna stand here and pretend there's not a lot of issues with the way we deal with homelessness. Absolutely. There's absolutely a lot of issues. The audit that was done through LASA was just horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And so that's a truth. That's a truth. It's an undeniable truth. LASA is going to get broken up because the county left, and we're trying to figure out how that's even going to support.
One piece of it.
That's one piece of it. That's correct. Now, there is also a lot of nonprofits that are doing a lot of great work out there, trying to solve this issue as much as they can. And I meet with them and we work with them, and it is a labor of love what they do.
They're managing it. They're not solving it.
Hold on. Let me try to answer your question, okay? I know this is a serious issue. And they're working their butts off. Now, is the issue improving? Barely.
No.
We had a drop in homelessness.
No, it's not
Barely.
real.
It's barely. I know that's not how people feel. I get that. Like the issue is that people feel a certain way, and until people feel a certain way, we got to keep working at it.
No one should believe LASA.
So,
Eviction tsunami is here now. The eviction tsunami has arrived.
okay, Gina, I'm gonna try to answer your question, but please, I ask you to.
Then do it.
I know people will get to it.
Oh,
We'll
he's
get to it.
thinking of an
We're
answer.
asking, okay, we're gonna move on.
Oh. Well, no, why don't you answer the question?
People and say that they've done something wrong.
Okay,
We're asking
so
you to answer the question.
let me just be very clear to everyone who's having a lot of emotions.
Oh, it's you. Answer the
Yes, I will be
question.
very clear. I just want people to
Answer the questions.
just take a deep breath, please. We are using the Children's Institute space.
Oh, as cover.
And part of using their space is that we need to be respectful to their
Oh,
space.
stop it. Nobody's being disrespectful.
It
We're
is-
asking about homelessness.
So, okay, if we have one more interruption,
Answer the
this
question.
meeting will conclude. This meeting will conclude, but I will be happy to stay back and talk to you individually. But I'm not going to put the majority of the people in this meeting who came here to get the answers and to try to be involved as much as possible. So if we get one more interruption with the respect of our Children's Institute who's lending space, we're going to conclude this meeting and it's going to be over. Thank you. All right, one more question.
I think I'll take, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Thanks. Is this working? Yeah. Very simple question. I think personnel costs are high. What are the unions bringing to the table? And I'll propose a solution. I worked for a city, not this city, but a different city, during the Great Recession, and we did a collective sacrifice. We took a 10% pay cut. We worked, but we took a 10% pay cut and we avoided layoffs. And we kept the city running. What are the unions bringing to the table? It does not make sense to me that we're handing out raises, which I understand were previously negotiated, but you're laying off 1,600 people at the same time. I think the unions, all the unions, need to bring something to the table if we want the city to keep going.
Yeah, what's your name, sir?
I'd rather.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you. So no, I think most of the unions are prepared to do that. Many of them have said that they will come back to the bar. They will come. What needs to happen is they need to reopen their contracts, because right now the contracts are locked in, and so it has to be by mutual agreement. The individual union has to say, yes, we want to reopen this contract, and the city has to say, we agree to it too. Many of them are willing to come to the table to try to resolve this issue, because if every union defers their the COLAs, or the cost of anyways, the wage increases, then we can avoid every single layoff. But that requires every union to come back and do that. And so right now, the plan A right now, what we're going through is to try to find money, whether it's through grant-funded positions or special funds, to try to avoid as many layoffs as possible. Because we started at 1,600, and we're because of the changes and the decisions we're making through the budget process, that number is getting lower, lower, and lower, and lower. If we are at a place where there are still layoffs have to happen, and that's the way the budget closes, then what I anticipate is that that's the time when the unions, or some of the unions I think, are going to come and say, how can we defer our raises so that we can avoid layoffs? Because if we avoid layoffs, we also avoid many of the services that we're talking about here. So, but that's plan B. Right now we're still focusing on plan A. Okay. All right, let's do one more. She looks eager. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to.
And I'll hang back, but we don't have to keep the whole room here.
I don't need that. I just want to. My name is Maria, and I live in Rat Park, and I just want to highlight Barnesville Art Park. And it seems like they want to cut, yeah, it's a gem. It's a total gem. It's a gem in the city, and they want to close the Hoppy Hot House and the museum part of the grounds. And so I would just ask if you would keep it in mind when you're making the budget.
Yes, if folks don't know, Barnesville Art Park is home to the only UNESCO site on the Western Hemisphere, and it's an architectural beauty designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's also
I would hang around. I'm not hanging around.
Do a bunch of stuff.
I think this little slimy little
And in order to
punk
keep the
has been showing
UNESCO Heritage
weeds.
Site designation, we have to have some designated staff for it. And so there was recently an LA Times article about this, and I spoke in support of that and tried to find the money. And we have communicated that to the Budget and Finance Committee. So hopefully we can find our way and make sure we keep the UNESCO site. All right, and we have some announcements, right? And then...
Yes, yeah, so thank you all. I know that there's a lot of questions still. We're here to still continue to answer those. But I just wanted to take a moment again to look back at this of how to participate. We know there's a lot of energy in our communities. There's a lot of anger. We feel that, we see that. We want that energy to go towards where we can actually make an impact. And a lot of that is in this whole conversation has been about the budget, right? So please take a moment to the two next council meetings that are going to be around the budget is May 21st and 22nd. So I want folks to put those in your calendar. You can also come to City Hall 3 days a week and give public comment. I encourage you all to do that in an organized way.
This punk tried to kick me out of here.
Bring a group. That's the way that we're gonna.
Shut up.
You're gonna get council to listen.
Shut
to.
up.
Bring a group with you.
Shut
bring
your-
a petition.
shut your mouth.
Go and do some of this lobbying. We recognize that there's a lot of issues here in our district, right? So before we close out, can I just give Maria Vargas, who is chapter chair for UTLA at Rosemont Elementary School. We're gonna give her the mic just real quick.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Vargas, and I'm a second grade teacher down the street at Rosemont Avenue Elementary School.
I think this guy's been shown for the coward he is.
I just wanted to share with you that on May 17th, we're organizing a rally in front of SpaceX. And the reason we're doing that is because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are threatening to rob LAUSD students of 1.2 billion of our own tax dollars. And that will impact in an unimaginable way our students. And one of the ways is just like getting rid of free school lunches. The majority of our students receive free school lunches. And also they're already planning to take away funding for special education students. As you know, they target the most vulnerable. So I would encourage you to join us. And this rally is a little bit different. It's not like a protest, it's not a march. It's, we're inviting a lot of community members in terms of if you have somebody in the school district, anywhere up and down California, because this is a rally that's organized up and down California from all different school districts, because we're not just, LAUSD is not just the only one being affected. We're gonna have face painting, it's family friendly. We're inviting vendors, community vendors from all over the city to come and join us. And it starts at 11 and it ends at 1:30, okay? It's in the city of Hawthorne. But I have here flyers that if you scan the QR code, it also lets you know public transportation that you can take there, and also give you information about parking. Okay, thank you.
All right, and we have some other information here on the budget. We've got some things for folks to take home, red cards, all of that. CD13 staff, can you raise your hand? So if you want to talk to one of us, you're welcome to come up and speak with us.
I'm out of here. They're gonna throw a big ass fight. I want nothing to do with them. I want out of here. I'm so disgusted. Nobody in here. Everybody's annoyed at them.
That's a fucking win. That's a fucking win. Where's my fucking answer?
He's a fucking coward. He didn't answer anything. He answered
I'm gonna
nothing.
go ask him right now this fucking thing.
Alright. I was about to leave. I was like, what? Get him, Gina. I'm gonna hang back so she gets her answer. I don't want to put cameras in anybody's face. Yeah, actually, I don't even want to go. No, go ahead. Take care, guys.
We're dealing with the aftermath.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Terry with Children's Institute. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
appreciate it. No, I want to make sure this is open to anyone.
Because they
So
tried to
if-
stop me from
Oh,
coming
yeah,
in. I
no,
was like,
open to everyone, and so I'm glad that you were able to come in.
I appreciate
It is private property, but the reason we have this here is for ice.
okay,
Yeah,
right.
so you,
I had RSVP'd
yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
no, I'm glad that you came because
I went in and they told me to come out and they said I can't be here. It's
Yeah.
private property. You have to leave. And I'm like, I RSVP'd. I live in
Yeah.
CD13.
I'm really sorry that
I
that
know.
was said. We are private property,
But,
this
yeah,
is
I get
not
it.
where we're not letting people in. This is obviously open to community. We actually have the private property sign because we, it prevents ICE from
Yes,
coming in
right.
without a warrant. So that's why we have it. So what's your name?
William.
William, Terry.
Terry,
to
nice
meet
meeting you.
Yeah, I
You're
appreciate.
fantastic.
Oh no, I appreciate
I gotta shout you guys
Yeah,
out.
well,
Take care.
have a good evening.
Yeah, they ran to her. They tried to kick me out. I was standing online. I didn't even say a word. I just walk in there. I'm standing online, waiting to sign in, and I noticed that the person, two people in front of me, all of a sudden, like they were signing, but they came to a stop. Like they told them stand there. Like don't let me move forward in line. And then, dumbass over here comes up to me and he's like, "Yeah, can I talk to you outside for a second?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna record it then." And start recording. He's like, "Yeah, here, actually." Let me play this for you guys. So they peeled to her, and she's like, you see, she made a beeline to me right there to say, "Hey, no, listen, I don't want that smoke." Let me show you what this punk, what a fucking coward. He didn't answer anybody's questions. I don't know if you guys could tell, but everybody was just annoyed in there. It was just huffing and puffing. Let me show you this chum. I couldn't believe this. All right, so first, like I said, I was standing in line and he's like, "Come on, let's come outside and talk for a second." That shit.
It was all like sensible because the stats were. Excuse me? Yeah. We just, we're trying to have an event here tonight.
Hold on. I know. It's loud right here. Let me. Come over here. It's a little better.
Excuse me? Yeah. We just, we're trying to have an event here tonight.
So am I know. It is about the budget and people have questions.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
So what's the point of this?
We understand how,
We understand how Hugo doesn't like answering questions.
Oh, no.
No. Actually, he
He's happy
literally,
to-
he almost got hit by a car the other day running from me when I was asking questions.
I think he was.
So I just want to make sure.
I think, you can.
I want to make sure.
You
Okay,
can
so
talk to him
why,
if he's accurate.
what is the point of this? Out here, I'm going to come in here to town hall like
sir,
everybody else.
This is private property.
I signed up for this.
It's private property.
I signed up for this.
It's private property, and
Call the
the
police.
Children's Institute.
Call the police.
Sir, please.
Call the police. I
Sir.
signed up for this. I
Sir.
RSVP. You're not going to hold me out of here. That's her right there. They appealed to her, and she's like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, you just wanted to.
She's telling him she don't want no part of it, right? But then, I go stand in line, I sign. Then once I'm done signing, he's got to run his damn mouth again.
So, just look. You can listen.
I'm not listening to you. You're not operating in good faith. It's not for you to tell me to come into I'm a CD13 resident. I'm a CD13 resident. You don't tell me if I can come to a CD13 house. Call the police. Call the police. Call the police. That is after she went out there. The director of the lady who runs this place, the Children's Institute, came out there and said, no, he can stay. And then he's saying, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. What kind of shit is this? Look, I knew he was going to be a coward when I was coming here. I knew it. Like I said, the last time I saw him was 2 weeks ago. And I was riding down the street in a scooter and he was going to the event and I saw him and I went to do a U-turn. He saw me and he went running across the street. He almost got hit by a fucking car. I called him out on it. He's like, I know. He almost got hit. Like, don't jaywalk then. Anyway, people were asking about homelessness programs. He didn't want to answer shit. He had no answers except to say that he supports Inside Safe. That's all he had to say. And he didn't want to answer anybody's questions. She doesn't even get the data right. She's talking about how the street light already takes a year to replace. No, actually, it takes 30 days to replace. As per Kenneth Mejia, the city controller, it takes 30 days to replace one now. Under the new budget to replace a street light, 300 days. And we're not talking about 300 days, calendar days. We're talking about 300 business days. So we're talking about, 400 days. And he didn't want to address anybody's questions. This guy's a fucking coward, man. And then when they're asking tough questions and he's not answering, and say, can you please answer the question? He's like, well, I've given you 2 warnings. What? You warn me about what, Hugo? What did you warn me about? You gave me on the 3rd warning, I'm leaving? I'm not going anywhere. He would have to call the cops. Imagine him calling the cops. Imagine thinking he could just kick me out of a CD13 event because he didn't want to answer questions. Because he doesn't want to answer questions. It says on his flyer for this thing goes on from 6 to 8. He ended this at 7:40. He's going to sit there and he's going to decide what questions he can and cannot answer. What a fucking coward. I'm sick of all these politicians that act like that. We got a $1 billion deficit. The city is in crisis and you want to pick and choose which questions you can answer. Why did you even have this event? I'm going to come to every fucking event. I'm probably going to come to his office at least once a week in city council. And I'm going to ask to do a CPRA, which means you can walk up to the person at the front desk, the receptionist, and say, I want to see those papers you have right there. They can't deny you that. You can literally do a CPRA in office. I can ask for documents. I can sit me down in a room. That's what we're going to do. I am so sick of this fucking guy. He was the biggest coward in there. Not answering shit. He's going to you're going to talk about the budget. You're not going to talk about homelessness. He's going to let me just skip over that part, even though when he was doing his chart. And then another thing is, again, he's literally using Kenneth Mejia, the city controller's charts. But then he refuses to stand up. He didn't give an answer. I asked him, should Kenneth Mejia do an audit of Inside Safe? He's like, well, it's already being done, and this is on. No, there's a comprehensive thing going on that includes all shit. We want to know about Inside Safe. Because you want to know something? This shit is coming up for a vote. They're keeping the funding for Inside Safe, but they're cutting the budget for sanitation and all this other stuff. We got to keep all of our grifting third party. Gina was in there. That's Gina Viola. She came in, what, 3rd or 4th place for mayor? And she's asking him, we got all these nonprofits in Hollywood to handling homelessness. I think she said 70? 70? And where the fuck is that money going? He doesn't answer anything. I'm so sick of him. Let me get my Uber. Fucking annoyed. What a coward. This guy's a coward. If you don't have the balls to run for office, don't run for office. Like, if you can't answer questions, it's okay to say, man, you know what, I don't have the answers, or I have no control. Something. But talk about it. I could tell he's not very, I don't know, he's not very informed. I promise you, he's not very informed on most of this shit. He's not. Sitting on this channel, you will learn more about policy and shit than Hugo would ever know. I promise you that. That's why, there's a reason why they didn't want me coming in. Was there any good reason to keep me out of there? You're gonna sit there and tell me at a public event? I can't believe that. I'm still in shock over that. You're gonna be at a public event and you're gonna tell somebody who was your constituent that they can't come in to your town hall. Who are you? I'm livid, man. I was planning to go home, do some work. Now I gotta go home and go for a walk because I'm so damn fucking annoyed. And so the guy right there who was trying to keep me out, I've had it out with him too. So my friend Jamie York was nominated for the Ethics Commission by Kenneth Mejia. The best person in LA for the Ethics Commission. I'm telling you that right now. The best person. No one does oversight better than her. And right now she's not in the Ethics Commission because Hugo and the union shot her down. So they were saying they were going to vote for her. And then she brings her family and everybody there to City Hall for the vote. And then they out of nowhere go and vote against her. It was disgusting. And he voted against her specifically for the thing that I brought up. He thinks that, like right now, lobbyists cannot give donations to elected officials. Lobbyists cannot directly give donations or gifts. And Hugo, through MLO, wants to make it legal for unions. And remember, he's a union guy. He's a Unite Here 11 guy. He wants to make it legal for unions, including the police union, to give money directly to candidates. Not just money, like not just donations, but also gifts. And so he's sitting here talking about how the LAPPL has so much influence over the budget process, and they do. Then why are you giving them more tools to affect policy? Because what union is more powerful in the city government than the police union? There's none. They're the most powerful. And you're literally giving them more tools, allowing their lobbyists to give donations directly to Karen Bass or you, or give gifts to Karen Bass or you. How does that help the budget process? I'm for fairness across the board. I don't think any fucking lobbyist, I don't care who you are, should be able to their lobbyists should be able to give, or any group's lobbyists should be able to give money or gifts to any politician. Fuck that. That's crazy. The unions who you're negotiating your contracts with, you want their lobbyists to give money directly to you. What are we doing here? It doesn't matter what your stance is on unions. It's just what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. Now, he says, well, it's unions, it's okay to do it, but not big business and all that. Nobody should be, no lobbyist should be able to give money to him. So again, it's partly because I'm still pissed off about how he did Jamie York. She's the greatest, and fuck this guy for doing that. But then again, ask about Inside Safe. I don't know how many times I've asked him about Inside Safe. The only thing he says is I support it, which is everything you need to know about this guy. Because how the fuck can you support that program? Again, it's $367 million we have spent on it, and we have permanently housed 905 people. Do the math. He's talking about, put them in temporary housing. You're putting them in hotels. The last we were able to figure out the calculations on it was costing $17,000 a month, but they've been hiding that data. And we see with this newest whistleblower thing that the whistleblower saying they've been withholding data because they didn't want Karen Bass to look bad. But we already knew this. They've been hiding all that data in Laza, so we can't tell what the true cost is per person right now. I don't know. Here, let me walk to this pickup spot. So anyway, about 2 years ago, after they had voted against Jamie York, she's also in a neighborhood council, and all the neighborhood council members love her, in all the neighborhood councils. They were all furious, and he came to the Central Hollywood neighborhood council meeting. No, East Hollywood neighborhood council meeting. And I went there to confront him, and lo and behold, that same guy who was who confronted me and said I couldn't be there and who was deciding who can ask questions or not. When it got to me, we're gonna have to cut short. The council members are gonna have to go. And so I started answering. I started asking about it, about all this stuff with Jamie York, and they threatened to call the cops on me. They're calling the cops on me. I'm like, Hugo says he's a police abolitionist. Now, listen, I'll be the first one to say that I'm not a police abolitionist. I think policing should look a lot different, a lot smaller, but he's an abolitionist. And and his guys are calling the cops on me. Okay, Mr. Abolitionist. This fuck boy. I'm so annoyed with him. Come on, why is it telling me his location? Where to? I don't want to go down that side street. He's trying to... Yeah, this will work. I was absolutely shocked. First off, he's like, when I'm saying online, he's like, can we come outside and talk to me? I'm like, oh, I didn't know what to make of it. I'm like, why are you doing this? And I didn't even know what he was getting at. He's like, hey, if you want to talk to him, he's over there. I'm like, I don't want to talk to him. I think they were having me come outside and they wanted me to address Hugo outside, have a one-on-one conversation, but not in front of everybody else. I was supposed to come out in the parking lot, have a conversation with Hugo, and then leave. And then he's going to have his town hall. And I'm not supposed to be there because you don't want anybody. Also, fuck that lady who's talking about she doesn't want to be filmed. First off, she wasn't being filmed. Secondly, don't come to a public event with a politician if you don't want that shit documented. If there's a public official that relates to anything in my neighborhood, I'm going to record these events. Because if it wasn't documented, nobody could see what kind of a petulant little bitch he was. Oh, man. Is that my car? Of course he's in the wrong fucking place. All right, guys, I'm getting off. Shout out to the mods. Come on, bro, you're going to the wrong place. No, he's telling me he's arrived. I'm standing where I set the location to. All right, shout out, guys. Talk to you guys later.